Good evening, hello, and welcome to the show. Prior to the show starting, and I'm speaking now to folks that will be watching on video on demand or via YouTube or on iTunes or on Blip or any one of the millions of places you can see us. Prior to us actually starting the show, there's a little bit of merry banter and japery goes on between the chat and whoever's on screen. It's basically so we can get the live stream running properly and all sorted. And there's been some Christmas carols and things going on, and I suppose really, having been searching around various different parts of the world reading things, apparently the German government's at it again. Somebody, I've forgotten her name now, is trying to get things sorted out. So perhaps to them we should sing "God Rest Ye Gerry, Mental Men." Yes. It's going to be one of those shows tonight. I can see it coming. Yes, it'll be all kinds of fun, and I think I'm going to be taking a few cues from chat tonight for once in my life, because I can actually read it tonight. So yes, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll get into the titles and then we'll get into the show proper. Keith's just here. This time I've got him sat without his potty seat on it so that he's not at full height. It's not true really. Music full kilter tonight. This is called the Haze Hour. And here I are, Keithless tonight, which is, it's a strange, I don't often do the show by myself these days, but it has to happen now and then. He's out playing with his massive organ tonight, playing carols. Christmas, it's a bit early, I mean it's only just turned December, isn't it? No, it's the, what is it, the 6th of December, it's only just turned December. But that said, I was singing Christmas carols myself yesterday. Took the opportunity to take my daughter out for the last time as a non-parent, as she is a non-parent, because she's having the baby next week. Bless her. And yes, we've been looking forward to this for quite a while. But as per usual, you know me, and those of you that don't know me, you're probably well off. I decided to go loaded for bear with the Fogarty on top of a Lambo V4. We were talking about this earlier, Chris, weren't we? The Lambo V4 or whatever else it gets called, wherever else it gets called, whatever version it gets called. And I also took with me my current favourite for shirt pocketising, which was a Vision Ego, a top, in this case a blue Vision Spinner battery, but I've learned I can't use the blue battery on here, otherwise you won't see it, for reasons of technical trickery. And the place was a castle, Lumley Castle, for those of you in the northeast that know anything about it. It's roughly analogous to Buckingham Palace, for those of you further down south. Very posh, and all the ladies that were there were ladies who lunched, don't you know? And I was hearing an awful lot of this. Have you been and looked round the bazaar this afternoon, have you, Hermione? And it was, you know, all fur coat and knee knickers. Brilliant. Cucumber sandwiches and smoked salmon sandwiches and all that kind of thing. And as you do, you know, when you've finished your sandwichy bit and you're drinking a cup of coffee, just a little drag, stealthily like that, you know. And as time went by, it got a bit more, how can I put this, overt, in your face, and it got to the point where David was giving it hot licks. rather more like that. And as you can see, there's a nice little mist starting to build up. So around this little table where my daughter and I were sat sitting, eating our cucumber sandwiches and sultana scones with strawberry jam and cream, there was this lovely little fog, like a little igloo of vapour around us. The staff, of which there were loads, dressed as comely wenches. Well, the wenches were dressed as comely wenches. One of the blokes looked as though he wanted to be, but he wasn't. Neither the staff nor the rest of the guests batted an eyelid. No one so much as commented. They were not bothered. And Susie and I were sitting looking at each other, and I kept on looking round and blowing ever bigger billows out, as you do, trying to provoke a reaction. One of those, "I say, what is that gentleman doing with that rather large silver thing?" Nout. Not a damn thing. Until we'd been there probably 3 hours, sat in the bar. Yours truly's had a couple of very large glasses of mulled wine, followed by a glass of Her Majesty's beer, as you do, and a couple of young ladies decided to say, "What is that? Is that one of those electric cigarettes?" I said, "Yes." "Oh," she says, "there's a fella I work with's got one of them. It doesn't look like that, doesn't look as good as that." That was it. That was the sum total of the interplay about e-cigs, and this is in a very, very posh place with very, very posh people, and nobody said boo to a goose. I just thought I'd share that. As you do. I'd have told Keith, and I've no doubt Keith would have had something to say. I've no idea what, but he would have done. Anyway, it was kind of, it's leading into this whole Christmassy thing, because I think it's allowable to use the word Christmas now we're in December. And it got me to thinking, I've got my as yet unborn grandchild arriving sometime in the next week, and fairly shortly after that it will be the day when Santa arrives, and those traditionally are 2 times when gentlemen's turn towards a cigar. But of course, those of us that no longer smoke the burning tobacco, as it were, probably need to find something else. Which set me to thinking that perhaps I should look at what I hinted at last week. So I sat down and did a little bit of video. Have a look at this.
Well, hello. Following that virtuosic piece of musical playing, alright, it's smule on the iPad, here to talk about this here thing here, which is an electronic cigar. It claims 800 puffs. I've not yet been able to fully evaluate that because it's nowhere near finished, but I've been dragging on it quite a lot over the last week since we first mooted it on the Haze Hour. Now, the reason I'm doing this pre-record is that my interwebs are acting up. This may or may not go out tonight because today it is Thursday, the 6th of December. But last night my interwebs decided that that's it, we've had enough. If you'd been watching VT Talk, you would have seen that, I don't know, 2/3 of the way through, we lost Kev from Vapor's Place and VP Live. We couldn't get his video in, there was only audio, and I think that was probably because my download speed had dropped from a very, very nice 66.6 megabits per second down to 21 kilobits, which isn't very fast at all. There is a problem and it needs sorting and it's ongoing, so I'm kind of hoping that we'll have the bandwidth to be able to bring you this tonight. Otherwise, it will be going into next week's show. But back to the cigar. I have to admit, I did have a bit of an air on a G-string moment. Pick this thing up and it feels so lifelike in the mouth. You can see just by looking at it that it absolutely does look the part, and it actually feels as though it has a tobacco wrapper on it. It's just a shame it's not a sweet wrapper such as you would get on a King Ted, but it has that the whole feel of a cigar, and it actually looks quite convincing too, I think. It produces very, very nicely. It's 26 milligram strength juice that's in this. It tastes very much like a cigar, not a strong one. It's not a Panatella, not a Churchill, but it's kind of got that a kind of a King Tedish feel about the whole thing. It definitely tastes like a cigar, and if you are into cigars, I think you would probably enjoy this. Definitely one for Christmas Day in my little book, and I think I'll be preserving whatever life this has left until Christmas Day, or perhaps at some point next week when I become a granddad. Price wise, 7 or 8 quid I think. Have a look on ivapor-elixir.co.uk, which is where this one came from. I'll try and put the web page up, but at the moment there's no guarantee I can do that, so it's kind of a web free zone at the minute. But yes, ivapor-elixir.co.uk. They're available in other places as well. 800 puffs apparently, which I can't say yay or nay. It's an interesting technology. It certainly looks the part, feels the part, tastes the part. Yes, it works. It's nice. If you like a cigar, this is a nice, handy little one. And I know for a certain fact it's top pocketable because I had to frisk Keith before he went out of the studio last week. And with that,
yes, it's actually, it's nice. Do like it. Now, I didn't manage to get any close-up shots into there, but here we have close-up cam. There it says on the side, look, Boge DW 260 mini e-cigar 26 milligram. I've mentioned that especially for Chris, who gets mixed up by numbers, don't you, Chris? She's not listening.
Indeed I do.
Indeed. Yes, you do. You are listening. Oh, well, that's good. Just to show you the top end of this, if you can make it out, it's actually wrapped in a paper-like substance, and it actually feels like a cigar, a well, properly wrapped cigar in the mouth. I'm really quite impressed by the whole thing. I didn't expect to be, but I am. It is lush, and don't tell Keith, and I know he's not going to be watching this, I'm going to get him some for Christmas because he used to love a cigar. So it's either, yes, one of those, or you can do the old Groucho Marxy job, I suppose, with it. Vaporman has just asked, See, I love our chat, they keep me right. Do they come in higher strengths? No. 26 milligram is the highest that I have discovered thus far. I must admit a 45 would suit me better. But this 26 actually isn't bad. I suppose if you're going to smoke it like a cigar, you probably wouldn't be inhaling it down into the lungs. You'd just be dragging on it. Pardon me, hiccups, with perhaps a minor little drag just down to the clack, not right the way down into the tubes, as it were. In that respect, if it was just going to be a mouth hit, it could probably do with having a little bit more flavour. But honestly, the feel of it is such that it kind of kids you on quite nicely. Like I say, I'm favourably impressed. I hadn't thought of that. Marco van Basten has just said, dip the end in port. I'm just as pleased he didn't advise me to dip my end in sherry. She lives 3 doors down, her husband wouldn't be happy. Where was I? Yes, Moonlit's pointed out there's no backy falling out of the end into your mouth. Can anybody else come up with any things like that that's in chat? Do tell. This is good, this. It's brilliant having everybody write your script for you. Can you refill it? Vapologist has asked, can you refill it? I'll tell you what I'm going to do, because I like the way this atomizer works. I don't quite know what it is, but when it's dead, it's getting taken to bits. And I'm going to find out if there's a way of hacking this around to either get a rechargeable battery in, because I think it'll take a 10440, if not 2. If there's a way of hacking it round to give it even more use, then yours truly will be finding out how to do it. And if I don't, there is a chap in chat called Mr. Dibley, Gerry of that ilk, raffle organiser par excellence and fundraiser for children in need without equal, who I think would be able to do precisely that and make something with rather more longevity, shall we say. It'll all be good. Mr. Dibley is opining that it's a good job I haven't got a tracksuit on tonight. I've got no idea what you're on about, Gerry. Oh, I really haven't. But there you go. That's it. I mean, pretty much that's where it's at. Now, the middle section of the show is quite long, and I'm going to go straight into it after the adverts, and it actually runs the full 20 minutes. So I need to get a bit of a twist on and get there fairly quickly. Otherwise, I'll be running out of time and I'll be getting my backside whipped by Cat, which is fine because that's our job. But I will just echo what Jill CB has just typed into our chat, where she says, well done for all your hard work, GD, on children in need. I will echo that in spades. He's a star. Back in 2 minutes. iVapor and iVapor Elixir, based in Yorkshire, for your e-cig needs. That's ivapor.co.uk and ivapor-elixir.co.uk. iVapor and ivapor-elixir.co.uk, proud sponsors of vaportrails.tv. There's been a lot said lately about two particular devices. Two devices that have come out, well, one certainly in time for Christmas and one definitely in the new year. And those are the Joyetech eVic and the Janty MiD 1. I've been thinking about these a lot because I'm a geek. I can't help it. It's the way I am. and I've been having a look at the various properties of both of them, trying to make a decision onto, or as to, which one I would buy first, sight unseen. And there's a lot of people are thinking about that. So let's go on a journey, the two of us, and see what's what, shall we? Let's start with the Janty MiD. And here we are at the Janty MiD page, which, as you can see, has all kinds to it, and it starts off with what is MiD. There it is, and there's a video on there, and you can watch the video and do what you want to do and find out everything they're going to kind of tell you. And there's also a quick tour of the MiD series concept, which I'm going to have a look at once we've had a look at what else is said on this page. And it starts with vaping profiles, and they say that it's a visual editable representation of the dynamics in a puff. The way the MiD implements the vaping profiles is through an arbitrary waveform of voltage or power, watts, on an editable timeline of 0 to 12 seconds. The MiD editable timeline allows you to fully control every tenth of a second of your puff. And I'll freely admit, at this point, I'm already confused. I'm very used to variable wattage and variable voltage. I know how both of them work. Variable wattage is actually power control. It's controlling the amount of power that goes to your atomizer. And to be honest, I'm not convinced that having control over that every tenth of a second is something that I really need. And I'm thinking it might get a little bit complicated. But let's carry on exploring, shall we? There's a whole load of blurb here about how the whole thing is actually going to work. And then we come to the first point where I think people may have a difficulty. And it's a twin battery mod, a dual battery mod. Two high performance high-drain mid-cell HD Pros, it says, in series, stacked in other words. It also works with off-the-shelf Lion RCR123, RCR2, 16340, 17335. Okay, 17335, don't know that one. 16340p protected, and 3.6. It's kind of, it'll take anything around about that size. What it's telling you though about the batteries is that the batteries can handle up to 5,500 milliamp hours, or milliamp, yeah, right, 5,500 milliamps, and it automatically cuts off at 4,000 milliamps. So it'll do up to 5.5 amps, and it cuts off at 4 amps. They won't get significantly hot, and so on and so on and so forth. But it's stacked batteries. I can see a lot of people being less than happy about that. Also, and this is new since last week, you can only use 2 ohms or higher atomizers on this. So that's kind of going to let out a lot of folks that are using 1.5, 1.4 and lower resistances on the likes of their Genesis atomizers. I know a lot of people run them at around about a 1 ohm mark, but it says there it's completely safe with atomizers of 2 or more ohms resistance. Whether it's going to chop it off if it's less than 2 ohms, we don't know. Again, I just find that slightly confusing. Are they telling us that you cannot use anything less than 2 ohms, or that you should not use anything less than 2 ohms? I'm not sure which way around that goes, and I would like to know whether or not it's going to chop off. This is all, it's all building towards the decision, if you like. Let's have a look at more. And if I scroll this up, get the pointer out of the way, it's got pretty lights. You can make the lights dance. Doesn't really float me boat. You can execute up to 4 of your personally created vaping profiles on the MiD device at any given time on the go. And there's a whole load of stuff about the user interface, joystick, Smart clicks are user-defined click sequences that allow the user to interact with the device in a personalised way. I'm interested in how I'm going to personalise this. The joystick notion, you get used to that, whichever way that goes. Right, real-time variable voltage and real-time variable wattage. This feature, together with the joystick, enables the MiD user to modulate voltage or power freely and in real time during your freestyle vaping and or during the vaping or your pre-programmed profiles. Press the joystick up or down to increase or decrease the profile voltage power in real time anytime you want during your puff to experience the true real-time variable voltage and true real-time variable wattage. We won't say more to describe this feature now, as you have to try it to truly realise how innovative and cool it is, and that'll be in there out of the box, but it won't necessarily last longer than 175 puffs. I'm not bothered about security. If you've got to use a computer to do all of this, I'm gonna be very, very selfish here and say I'm a little bit disappointed to see that there isn't an Apple version of this, or an iPad version of it, or an iPhone version of it, or an app for Android phones and stuff like that. It's PC only. That's not brilliant for me. What does interest me though is what will work after this 175 puffs. I'm not bothered about puff data. Real-time monitoring of the MiD, again, it's going to need a PC. It doesn't apply to me. I'm all Apple. And then there's the whole MiD community thing, where you can share profiles that you have built. And I'm not even sure I'm a big enough geek to want to do that. And you've got a whole kind of history there. However, there was a page on the Janty site that told you what would work where and when and how, and that disappeared. But thankfully it's still available elsewhere, and I've managed to find it. And here it is. It's a page that shows you what will work out of the box and what won't. Let's have a look. So here it is. This is in the left hand side, where you'll see some red up there at the top here. It tells you what won't work once you've gone past 175 drags. And in the right hand side, where it's all green, that'll tell you what will work if you buy the modules. And at the moment, at this point in time, I don't think anybody knows what the modules will cost. So let's have a look at it. On-off mode, yes, that's out of the box after the 175 puffs. Variable voltage wattage selector, step up or down, yes. So it looks as though you'll be able to either go variable voltage or variable wattage power controlled out of the box. But you won't be able to enable or disable auto sleep mode. You won't be able to extend your user thresholds for vaping profiles. What that means is you can only go to 8 volts and 25 watts if you've bought the module. And real-time variable voltage wattage vaping, enable, disable, again, you've got to buy a module to make that work. So whether they're of use, I don't know. It gets a bit better. Can you select between profiles without paying any more? Yes, you can. You've got 4 vaping profiles, makes no difference either way. Executing a vaping profile defined in voltage, again, that's fine. Same with the vaping. Well, when we get to the vaping profile voltage range, if you don't pay extra, you can go up to 6 volts. If you do pay extra, you can go up to 8 volts. In wattage, you can get up to 15 watts out of the box, which is the same as the eVic, or you get to 25 watts if you've paid for the module. And I've got some thoughts on that too, because I have to say, I can't think of anybody I know that would go up as high as 25 watts. That's really, really high. And it's not somewhere I would go, and I like a bit of wattage, but that does seem like a very, very high range to be going to. Let's carry on though. Where do we get to next? The execution of arbitrary vaping profiles in amplitude you have to pay for. the execution of arbitrary vaping profiles in RGB LED colour. So if you want the disco lights, you've got to pay for that. And if you want hue, saturation and luminosity, you've got to pay for that. It's a module. Cut off time is 12 seconds whether you pay or you don't. So that's well and good. All the rest, all of the safety stuff, the protection, monitoring, battery status feedback, device temperature feedback, atomizer resistance feedback, vaping profile amplitude feedback, that's all there for free. And that carries on all the way down until we get to this clever stuff, the user defined settings, where in order to define and program extended user thresholds, you've got to pay. Same for auto sleep mode, you've got to pay. Variable voltage, real-time vaping, got to pay. Got to pay for user-defined state colours, pay for user-defined number of clicks per state. Don't understand. Retrieve the number of puffs. You can get that. Retrieve the history of the latest puffs, duration, date, energy, calendar function. There's a module planned. There are modules planned for apparently 4 or 5 different things there. Retrieve the amount of alarms and protection errors. Again, not sure why people would want that. Then we go down to real-time monitoring of the device using time domain graphs, living graphs, blah blah blah. Simultaneous representation of the vaping profile and the device voltage power. Module planned for that. Control your joystick with your computer mouse. Module planned for that. You can't do that straight out of the box. Actually, you can't do it at all until the module's there. Synchronize your vaping profiles in the mid-series cloud. You can't do that without a module. Direct purchase a module. Need a module for that. Chat. Need a module for that. Chat. Geotagging. Remote control of your MID e-cig. RSS feeds. I don't even think what that means, but could that be that you press a button and something tweets, or an RSS feed goes out and tells people you're using it? It just seems a little far-fetched. Where are we at? Store or add vaping profiles in your personal page. Need a module. Share and comment on other users' vaping profiles. Need a module. Rate users' vaping profiles. You need a module. It looks as though there's modules at all sorts of bits and bobs that you can get. Now, I've read it and read it and read it and read it and read it, and I'm not stupid, I'm not thick. I know my way around PCs, I know my way around Macs more these days than PCs, that's for sure. And it looks to me that's a complicated piece of kit to use. So let's just go and have a look now at the eVic and see what we've got there. Alrighty, here we go. The eVic comes with the control head, the battery tube, rechargeable battery, USB cable, wall adapter, manual, and the MVR manual. This is the application that they provide. Single battery, not stacked. Single battery, not stacked. Now, for a lot of people, that will make a difference. Because of all of the, I want to use the word outcry, but that's not the right word. But because of all the hoo-ha about stacked batteries and the potential for stacked batteries going off and that kind of thing, there are a lot of people prefer a single battery setup. I have to admit, I'm one of them. I've been using single batteries with the likes of the Kick for a donkey's age, and it works perfectly well for me. I'm very much used to the slight loss of overall runtime that you get. It doesn't worry me in the slightest. Easy to use. It's the same with any of these variable wattage units that you can get to build into mods, whether it's the Kick, whether it's the DNA 20, whether it's any of these things. They all work well enough. People are used to them. There aren't really any problems associated with them. So single battery might well be the way that you want to go with the eVic. But let's look further at this. We'll not bother with the video. We'll look at the design of the thing. The Janty MiD is a black tube, quite a narrow black tube, probably the width of an 18650 in total. This is the eVic itself here. 124 millimeters long, weighs 114 grams. The design is, well, you either like it or you don't you? It's one of those things, or you can put up with it. But let's go a little further. Everything you need to know is on what appears to be a large OLED screen, which looks to wrap round the whole thing. It's all there, and you control everything, as far as I can see, from the device itself. You don't have to connect it up to a PC in order to work out what's going on. You can find your way around it quite easily. Now again, I'm not bothered about the puff numbers or the remaining puffs or any of that kind of thing. That doesn't worry me in the slightest. It's not something I'm bothered about. I want to know what wattage I'm working at. I want to know what resistance my atomizer is, and I want to know how much battery life I've got left. That's really all I need to know. The rest is kind of icing on the cake. There's a whole load more information here. The usual kind of sales bump, I suppose you would say. And as per usual with this kind of thing, it's kind of, this is the best thing since sliced bread, and there's never been anything better, and that's kind of the way it all goes. And that's basically what's up on the Joyetech page. All of that information, everything that you can see there, is what it will do. Let's just move that up. So you can turn it on and off. There's brilliant. It has a battery indicator. It's variable voltage or it's variable wattage. It has a standby setting. It's got a puff counter. You can see how long you've been using it. Again, you know, time and dates on there. If you connect it up, you can access how you've been using it, find out. That's the chart analysis thing. You can show the resistance of the atomizer. You can show the output voltage and wattage of the battery. It has full battery protection. The screen of the device will go out when it's not used, and so on and so on and so forth. And what it will do, if you connect it up to a PC, you can modify information of the device more conveniently. But that gives you the impression that you can also modify the information of the device on the device itself. So it's kind of a compare and contrast. That's comparing and contrasting from specs, and I have to say, at the moment, Janty hasn't sold me on this. I'm seeing twin stack batteries, which I know a lot of people won't like. I'm seeing an awful lot of need to get extra bits of software and install it in order to make it do what I think I might want it to do. And I'm not really going to know what it won't do without paying until I've given it 176 drags, at which point in time I'll find out which bits and bobs aren't going to work. Because I find that list of modules both distracting and confusing. It doesn't make it easy to make a purchase decision, or it doesn't make it easy to decide to buy the MiD. I do want to have a look at it because it kind of sounds as though it ought to be very capable. But yet when I look at the eVic, I get the impression that it's more what I already know, that I can organise it on the device itself, that I don't need to be installing bits of modules here, there and everywhere, and I don't need to be programming it from a computer in order to make it do what I want it to do. I get the feeling that the eVic looks easier to use. Now, whether that's a case of just not particularly convincing marketing from Janty and more convincing marketing from Joyetech, I don't know. The only way I'm going to find out is by looking at the pair of them together. But at the moment, how can I put this? I've pre-ordered an eVic with my own money from Germany. I had hoped it might have arrived by today. It hasn't. Hopefully it will be here in time for me to look at it next week and give you some idea. My understanding is the Janty MiD is not going to be available until January anyway. But again, I'll have to have a look at it. I'd be interested to know everybody's thoughts. I'm sure there'll be a thread on all kinds of forums. What I've seen so far kind of says the eVic looks as though it's going to do well, and the MiD perhaps not as well as Janty might have liked or might have thought. It's an interesting time all the same, and I'm sure there'll be more products coming out that ape what both the eVic and the MiD can do. The hard part is going to be deciding how you implement that. But like I say, for the moment, the eVic has it for me. Back to the studio. There now. Now while that video was playing out, I was sitting watching what was being said in chat, and it's almost impossible to sum up all of the various different things that are said. But if I might just tax my memory a little and mention Jeff Benyon's comment on the MiD that it was a shareware e-cig, I was laughing at that. There are lots of comments going on in there saying more or less that the Janty offering looks to be too complex, too difficult to get to grips with, and possibly not functional enough without spending extra money, and so on and so forth. And that of the two, the eVic on paper looks to be the better device. Now, what I'm going to say is time will tell, and really the proof of this particular pudding is going to be in the eating. So it is my intention to obtain both, and when I've got both and I've used both for a reasonable period of time, I will do a piece as long as it takes where I'll put the two side by side and sort out the good bits, the bad bits, the pros, the cons, the good, the bad and the ugly. In terms of the cosmetics, if you like, that's something that I've got to leave to everybody else's personal taste. And there are people that think, for instance, that something like this, my GG with an NGP on top, looks ugly. I personally think it's really attractive, but you know, my wife thinks I'm good looking. I look in a mirror and I know she's wrong, but she believes she's right, and that's cool. You know, actually I was called a very good looking man yesterday when we were down at this hotel by a blonde. My daughter was there, she is my witness. Mind you, she's also a witness that particular blonde was at least 3 shades to the wind, if not the full 6. Either way, whatever. It's all down to personal choice. And I must just read out something that's just come into chat from John M for Mother Dow, not N for Normus Dow. He says, "You're a fine figure of a man, Dave." John, I think I'm in love with you. But there you go. So yes, as soon as I can get my hands on both, I mean, I know the eVic is on its way. As soon as I can get my hands on an MiD, I will. We'll put the two side by side, and it'll be ticky boxes, lists, there'll be all kinds going on, and we'll see which one works with what. I will, however, state I'm not going to buy a PC to use it. There's no way on the face of this planet. And the same applies to all of these folks that are coming out with all singing, all dancing, electronic gizmos like this. If you're going to make apps, make them for iPhones, make them for Android. That's actually all you need to do. Make it for iOS and Android. That covers about 95% of the market. I suppose Windows Phone if you absolutely must. Do it for that, because they're portable devices. Let's use them portably. You know, if you're going to change things, you might want to change things on the move. It's just a thought if anybody in China or the Philippines is watching. So there you go on that one. I did also notice in chat that there were a number of people that are saying kind of, you know, 3.7 volt battery, mechanical mod does me. And there's a lot to be said for that as well. Although I have to confess that I would think 98% of the time I've got a kick or a variable voltage or a variable wattage power controlled device in my hand when I'm using whatever it is I'm using. And there are many advantages to that. Many advantages to that. Not least of which is you've got protection in the electronics. And the second, in my case, as you'll probably have gathered over the last few weeks when we've been messing about with mesh wicks and what have you, my coil winding skills are somewhat less than stellar, and I'll get it in the ballpark, but I know that I like my vapor at a particular temperature, and if I've got power control, then I'm going to get the same wattage all the time, and the same wattage equates pretty much to the same temperature, which is all good. I'm not necessarily that keen on measuring the resistance of a coil and then messing about with voltage to find the right one and then storing it in the memory banks, because the memory banks, as is common with gentlemen of a certain age, are fading somewhat rapidly. And hello, just a minute, an iPad has no USB, has it? It has, if you've got the camera connector kit. I know Kat said something that she thinks she's got away with. Where am I at here? I'm sorry to have to do this, but Kat has said that I'll kill her for a remark. Oh, Kat had said, speaking about the blonde, that I'd never mentioned that the blonde was male. The blonde wasn't, she was female. Actually, she was very attractive. Bottle blonde. But that's, you know, that's no bad thing. Chris and I will doubtless speak later. Oh dear, how are we doing for time? We've got 10 minutes. I'm going to have a quick look at something, and this is going to be kind of off the cuff. It arrived in the post, kind of courtesy of Alston. I will say no more than that. It arrived courtesy of Alston, but it didn't come from Alston. So, and it's this. It's the Pulse e-cig, right? Now, I'm here to tell you, this starter kit, ignore those, this starter kit, which is, as you can see, a battery, come out, a couple of cartors and a charger, is $9.99. There's no puff count or anything on it that I can find. There's no, this will do you so many tabs worth or anything like that. It is what it is. It's a lucky lady. It's about the same size as a cigarette. It's a little bit heavier than. Unfortunately, it's got a red end. It's not the world's... Oh, look at that. It's not... I've oversucked it. Can you hear it firing? This is as it arrived. Haven't played with it. I think I need to unplug that. I may have oversucked it. Oh, that stopped it. That's good. My feeling about it was, I mean, oh no, it's still firing, look. Just went off again. Is it sound activated? No, it's just got a mind of its own. Weird thing this. Never work with children, animals, or e-cigs that you haven't played with for the first time when you're live. This is why we record an awful lot of stuff. Anyway, what I was going to say about it was, if it was going to work anything like, was that at $9.99 with 2 cartors and a charger, it's quite likely that it could compete with some of the lesser consumables. Disposables. Age is a terrible thing, isn't it, Chris? Yes, she's asleep again. Yeah, what I was going to say was at $9.99 it would compete, if it was anything like, with a lot of the lesser, higher priced disposables, and would be perhaps a better bet for somebody that was looking to try something, or maybe there's a stocking filler, that's stocking stuffer in the States, for the equinoctial, is it equinoctial or whatever it is, the winter celebration that is about to hit us all, whether that be Hanukkah, Christmas, or whatever it is you celebrate or don't celebrate, as the case may be. I was going to say that until this thing started just firing when it felt like it, which it's continuing to do, which is rather strange. And apparently Chris reckons that age isn't a problem, oversucking is. No such thing as oversucking, Chris. Trust me on this one. You'll learn. Yeah, as Tracy Collins in chat has said, and she is so right, that is everybody's idea of what an e-cig is. That's everybody that doesn't know about, you know, the likes of this kind of stuff. It looks like a fag. It tastes a bit like a silk cut, if I'm to be truthful. It's got all the kick of a glass of lemonade. I mean, it is, looks at the top, where is it? 16 milligrams. It's kind of a non-starter for me. If I'd had a chance to play with it a bit more, I would probably have drained the juice out and put some 45 in. That might have done the job for me, he said, recalling the controversy from last week. Keep chatting about that, it's worthwhile. Yeah, I mean, you know, I've got to be honest, when you look at something like the little Ritchie jobby, same size, same form factor and everything, except the Carto screws off this and you can recharge the battery. Of the two, I'd still rather have two Ritchies than one of these, I think. But having said that, there's the website for the place. Based in Guernsey, apparently. It's $9.99. And whether or not there are any discount codes or what available, I would not know, because I never look for them and I never use them either. But they do all sorts of different flavours. They're there. All I'm going to say really to that is, you know, if you fancy a look, have a look. If you think they might be useful for somebody, have a look. Not the best on the face of the planet, but not the worst either. I've had many, many worse than that. Which leaves me with about 7 minutes to go, and I've kind of come to the end of the stuff I had planned, because by 11 o'clock this morning, as you might have gathered from the first of the video sections that we played in, I was bereft of interwebs. I'm here to tell you that BT Care has a team in Ireland who have pulled themselves to bits to get it all sorted so we can get the show out tonight, and they've done a sterling job, and I've got nothing but praise for them. And I wanted to record that publicly, but I want to go back and have a little bit, see what chat have been saying, and kind of go from there. It looks as though Gary Dibley made a comment that I've missed. That's fine. I'll let you off this time, Gary. And John M. Dale has opined that it looks wrong, me having a cigarette looky likey in my mouth, and I've got to be honest, it feels wrong. It's not right. Moonlit has said that this type of e-cig is what makes disposable redundant at the kind of prices that they're going for now. And indeed, if they perform decently, that is very, very true. Yes, it is a new term, oversuck. Bad Seed has opined that it's a crap auto switch, and there is that. Gillis has also opined that apparently my suck is around about 160 bar. Yeah, you could be right there, Gillis. Tracy Collins down there in Kiwi land has said it's a shame disposables are so expensive. Yeah, I suppose actually really the technology that goes into a disposable is not that far away. It's not that removed from what's in something like this kit, really. You've still got to have the coil, you've still got to have the wick, the juice is going in. It's got a battery, and the cost of those batteries is the same whether they're rechargeable or not. And the case and everything else, there's very little difference between them. And I suppose that means that one could be cheaper, or the other one's just got to come up a little bit, whichever way. I mean, you can see why they're not that very far away. Where are we at? Tracy has said it is nice to give disposables to interested people, but the price makes carrying a stock hard. Actually, this brings up something I've been saying for a long time. I would love to see interested vendors doing a bulk buy for people who like to have something like a disposable on hand to be able to give out. And if they could knock them out at a couple of quid a piece, in 20s, say, then you know you could keep them in the glove compartment, have a couple in your handbag, a couple in your top pocket, whatever. And if anybody expressed an interest, you could just, it's just like buying somebody a pint. It's only like getting 3 fags bummed off you these days, I think, if that. So you know, it's worth giving a try. Worth giving a try. Where are we looking? What else have we got here? Yeah, apparently disposables at 20 quid in Superdrugs or something like that. And I will back up what Daz from Safer Cigs has said. He does give away very many disposables. I've seen this with my own eyes. He'll just give people them. He's one of the good guys, he does. He sells a lot, but he gives a lot away. And as I say, those of us that have been to meets where Daz has been have seen that happen on many occasions. It's getting very close to time I need to be away.
2 minutes, Steve.
Thanks very much, Chris. So what I'm going to do is just remind everybody that next October, come hell or high water, something fun this way comes.
And good evening, eventually. Took a little while to get things lined up and ready to go then, didn't it? But I'm here now, so welcome to Dave's Tackle Box on Sunday.
So there we go, on the back of the room and not long to go now. So yeah, I was talking with my son and he's watched me make things before.
And a very good evening to you. It is Tuesday the 20th of November 2012 and you are tuned into BBC Monthly.
At Vapor Trails TV Towers. Tonight being Wednesday night, it is time for the one and only chat show programme called VT Talk. Tis the Haze Hour. Again, Keith was just saying if it wasn't for the titles, he wouldn't come and do the show. He loves them so much, don't he? Oh, well, don't you just love it when you get so old and your eyesight is so bad that you can't see the correct videos that you want to play in? But never mind, that's what's coming up in the week ahead and what is here on vaportrails.tv every week, and there might even be more as time goes by. But the time has come once more for me to say goodbye and disappear off. Thanks to Kat for keeping me company via Skype while we've been doing all this, and thanks to you for watching, for without you we would have no need to be here. Until next time, from everybody here, cheerio. Bye. Gone.